Saira. I think you all are fine and doing well. Today we are going to learn a beautiful poem, My People, which was written by Dr. Siddalingaiah. Siddalingaiah is basically from Karnataka, and he has fought for the Dalits. So this poem, you can see that throughout the poem we see that how Siddalingaiah was so particular and so concerned for his people, for Dalits, who were not given any kind of scope to study or to do good jobs, or were not sent to the schools and never got any opportunities. So for those people he dedicates this poem, and we'll see, and we'll go to the next slides. In this poem we are going to cover, we see the poem, then story of migrant workers who travel from one place to the other place. Home assignments, we'll have some wonderful interesting home assignments for you. And the service, what kind of service we can do, which we learned from Sri Sathya Sai institutions. Home assignments, we'll see first. Please select any 5 community helpers mentioned below and write 5 sentences about each. You know the 5 community helpers who help us in the society? Teacher, electrician, carpenter, plumber, tailor, sanitary worker, postman, washerman, nurse, barber. All these people help us in our day-to-day work. Can we do our works without them? Imagine. It's not possible. It's highly difficult, right? You can see the people, every day we depend on all these people to do our works, right? So you can select any of the 5 community workers from the list given here, and you can frame your own sentences. This is the home assignment. Try to do this before we go to the next slide for the poem. Okay? Now let's see the poem. My people. They carry stones for building sites. They get kicked until they swoon. They die from hunger, my people. So you can see wherever it is written my people, the poet is so concerned, so much, he has so much of love for the people, what kind of work they do, but still how do they suffer? Like they carry stones for building sites. You see the people, laborers who work in the sites, who work as a daily labor, who work in the fields, right? You see the people, they carry the stones, they carry the cement, whole day from morning, day to night, they will be working, right? They carry stones for building sites. They get kicked until they swoon. Swoon is faint because of overwork or exhaustion. It's not that kicked in the sense doesn't mean somebody kicks. It means that they have to work whole day. They are supposed to finish the work given. They die from hunger. Though they built big palaces or the big house or the bungalows, but still when it comes to them, they die of hunger. They die of hunger because of the overwork they do, right? So, and what do you understand from this last line? My people. It means that Siddalingaiah, the poet, is so concerned that my people, they do so many works, but still at the end of the day, they die from hunger, and he is so concerned for the people. They excavate gold, but they don't get a meal. They weave cloth, but they go naked. My people. Again, you see, the poet is mentioning about his concern, my people. What do? You see in the coal mines, gold mines, right? So you can see the mines here. So they excavate. It means that they dig underground. When they go for underground, when they have to dig the mines, sometimes they can lose their life. They can die there, right? They do all these things, and we enjoy these benefits. And you see, they weave the cloth, and we enjoy the beautiful cloth. But when it comes to them, they die of hunger. And the poet is again mentioning about my people. They do all these things, but we enjoy the benefits, but they die of hunger, right? Look at this beautiful slide. Lavish banquets, stuffed dustbins. Look at the beautiful way of the poet is trying to explain us. See, Lavish banquets, the table is full of different types of different varieties of meal, right? And it is not only for one event or one function. You understand? Some of the rich people, they have this kind of things every day. But look at the stuffed dustbins. Stuffed means the plate is not stuffed with the food, whereas the dustbins are stuffed with the plates or the food which is half eaten and thrown. And the my people means the Dalits or the poor people, they have their food from the stuffed dustbins, right? Could you understand? Could you relate this? One city man showered and half the village's thirst quenched. You see how the city people waste the water for a long time and enjoy, nicely have a shower. But at the same time, look at the other slide, look at the other picture. What can you see here? The village woman is traveling for a long time, traveling for a long place, and she has to carry the water and bring it for her just drinking, for her family drinking purpose, right? They plow the field and they sow the seeds. Yes, this is what the labor do. They plow the field, yes, and they sow the seeds. They cut the crop and they are baked in the sun. So what do? You can see in the picture, right? They plow the field and they sow the seeds and they do everything till the crop gets to them, right? They have to do each and everything, right? And they cut the crop and they are baked in the sun. So what happens? Do they do all these things under the electric fans or under the ceiling? No, they have to do all these things in the hot sun, right? You can see the people how hard working they all are. But when it comes when we see the food in the plate, do we really remember the people who have done lot of hard work to get this rice to us, to get this food to us? We don't really realize, but these people does all these things and we enjoy the benefits of it. And the poet Siddalingaiah is trying to explain that my people do all these things, right? Again he is mentioning my people. They come home empty handed, they heave a deep, deep sigh, they live in misery, my people, right? He was letting out a heavy breath. Misery is poverty, right? When they don't get money for the day, they do whole day, they have to work hard, and once they come home, what happens? Sometimes they don't get the earning, right? And they have to come empty hand, and the whole family, children at the family, and the whole family will be waiting for the wage, for the money, so that the money comes, they can buy the grains, but they come empty handed. And they have a deep, deep sigh, could not do it, or today's income is no income for today. Like this deep, deep sigh. Sigh means just a kind of exclamation there, right? They live in misery. Misery means poverty. Very poor conditions they live. And they have to, you see in the previous slide we have seen that the people whole day in the hot sun, they have to bake themselves and have to work for our benefit. And when it comes to their own family, own life, what's happening? They have to feel pity and they have to lead their lives in a very miserable conditions. That's what the poet is feeling. My people, they do all these things, but when it comes to their own life, they miss each and everything in the life. At least in a very, very miserable conditions they live. They don't have one meal also to enjoy. They build the shops and they raise the bungalows. They get into heavy debts, my people. So what happens? They build the shops. Heavy debts is borrowing loans. They borrow the loans. They borrow money from the rich people, from the owners, right? They build the shops, right? They may build small shops with the amount, with the money which they get it. They raise the bungalows. They try to build small houses or something, right? But how do they do it? Can they do it on their own? Do they have money? No. The poor people, what do? They borrow money from the rich people, from their owners, right? And they try to build up a small shops, but they get into heavy debts. And these people, they don't think that we have money, let others also live, right? Rich people don't think of these things, right? And what they do? They just collect interest, very high interest is collected from the poor people, right? And the author poet is very concerned. My people have to be in the heavy debts, right? You can see the images here. See, look at the way they borrow the money and they build small shops, a small, you can see on the roadside, they sell the vegetables, fruits or some kind of toys and all these things they do. How do they get that money? They borrow it from others, but finally at the end of the day, they owners or the rich people collect heavy taxes from them. When they collapse on the street, they don't cry for help, they suppress their cries, my people. So what the poet says, when they cry, when they cry or when they collapse in the street. Collapse in the streets, you can here relate with two things. Sometimes when they whole day when they work, but still they don't get money, or otherwise because of doing hard work they faint on the road, but still they don't cry, and they don't feel that, oh, because of these people we have faced this situation. They don't cry, they just simply get up, and then what they will do, suppress their cries. They don't raise their cry or they don't scream, and they don't say that, they don't complain that because of these people it happened to us. They just suppress, they just control their cries. My people, again the poet is trying to tell, this is what my people, the poorer communities, the Dalits, they do all these things. They pay interest through their noses. They become ash in the fire of fiery speeches, my people. So what do? It says they pay interest through their noses. You will find the meaning in the next one. Pay interest through their noses is pay large interest. That's what we have discussed now. Large interest they have to pay, right? And they become ash in the fire, right? See, collapse to fall down and become unconscious, suppress to hold back. Pay interest through their noses, pay large interest. Become ash in the fire of fiery speeches. What do you understand from this? Exploited and fooled by politicians and leaders who make big promises. When before the party, the elections, during the elections we generally see this, they come up with so many promises that they will do so many things for the poor communities or the Dalits, but they just forget their promises, and the poor are always poor. Dalit have to struggle and suffer throughout their life, right? Story of migrant workers. You all remember how much difficult time we faced during the COVID, right? A year back. How many difficult situations whole world has faced, we know. So one such incident, one such situation is more than 1 crore migrant laborers returned to their home states during March-June 2020 during the COVID pandemic 19, right? Induced lockdown during the pandemic 19, when there was a lockdown, when there was no work. You just imagine about the street people who work or the laborers, daily workers. Everything was collapsed, everything was closed. Have you ever imagined what happened to them? They all have migrated back to their villages, as there was no work to do, as there was no earning, as there was no income, right? Everything was closed, right? They all have gone back to their villages. What have they done after going back to the village? Many have died. Many have lost their lives. Many have lived lives without food. Many have struggled a lot, right? Can you imagine how much suffering these hapless workers had been through? Just imagine, that's what we are discussing now. Just imagine, think about it, assume what could have been happened to the street side laborers, street side sellers, many people. One says you see the pani puri stalls, one said the fruit stalls, one said the vegetable stalls, one said the toy stalls, so many trolleys you see on the roads. Just imagine during the COVID, what could have happened to these people, right? How many must have lost their lives? Hapless workers, unlucky and unhappy workers, right? For the God-loving men who ate their fill, they prepared footwear. My people, they fall at others' feet and they get kicked. They are so devoted. My people, for the God-loving men who eat their fill. What does this mean? People boast to be pious and simple, but live lavishly. Devoted, extremely loyal. So what is the meaning of this too? What does this mean? So the people, for the God-loving men who eat their fill, they prepare footwear, right? You see, look at there, look at the picture here. See, already the man, the very poor man who's not able to eat. He cannot just have money, or he cannot have anything to eat. But look at the rich people, or the politicians, or the government, or whoever it is, right? So they are asking for the salary, or they are asking for the tax to pay. How do you imagine that such a person who is in a very, very difficult state, can he pay something to him? Is it possible? But this is what the condition of the poorer and the Dalits in the society, in the country, right? So they fall at others' feet and they get kicked. They are so devoted. Devoted means extremely loyal. They don't revert, or they don't, raise their voices, and they don't scream at others. They just keep quiet. That's what the people do, right? They listen to anything said to them. They live on air. What is the meaning of live on air? Go hungry without food. They listen to anything. Though the rich people or the owners scream at them, shout at them, remove them from the job, right? That's what has happened. We have seen in the previous slide, during the pandemic, how many workers have moved to their villages. There was no work here. Till the time, for a period of 5 years, 6 years, the laborers or the workers have worked in the same place, in the same shop. Did the owners, rich people, think of them? No. There is no, when the shop is closed, simply without any kind of compassion, love for the workers, the owners have sent them home, right? So they just can live or lead their life without food, or they can die of hunger, but they don't raise or complain about others. That's what the poor and the Dalits do. That's what the Dr. Siddalingaiah is trying to tell about. My people does all these things, but they don't raise their voice. They die of hunger, but they never complain. Yes, could you all understand what the beautiful poem is about, right? It was written by Dr. Siddalingaiah. Let's see the next exercises what we have. Landfill harmonic. The world gave us garbage and we gave back music, right? So what do we understand from this beautiful phrase? Like, for example, there are many people who have come from the very poorer sections, but still, if little support is given, if little support or little love is given to them, what they can do wonders in their life. They can just get support. If little support is given, they can do anything in their life, right? So you can see great people who have come from the poorer sections. Yes, so you can see here one who saw opportunity amidst their struggles. Most prestigious stages awaits their music today. It means that from the poorer sections, from these kind of sections, many have come and many have raised to that level because of little support somebody whoever has given. It means that the people who come from the poorer sections, they don't have a kind of an ability. Please don't misunderstand or judge them in such a way. There are multiple talents in the poorer sections, in the rural communities, rural areas. If you just give little support, everybody can do the best, right? The same thing applies here, right? Sri Sathya Sai institutions always conveys this message. What is the message? Engage yourselves in service activity. Consider social service as a service to God. This is the best way to earn God's love. Love all, serve all. Your entire life will be sanctified thereby. Sathya Sai Baba, right? So what do we understand from this? Your life purpose is fulfilled when you can support the rural people, when you can help the poorer and the weaker communities, when you can just give a helping hand to them, that I am there for you, get up, raise and take the help. Then see what kind of beautiful gems we'll get it from this rural sections, from the rural areas, right? So when you want to sanctify, understand the purpose of your life, do selfless service. Don't expect anything, just do. Try to lift up all the poorer sections. We all are one in the society. Do you all agree with this? We all are one. There is no any kind of difference of rich and poor, right? Let us all understand the purpose of our life, to help others and to do selfless service. This is what Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba used to teach all of us. Now let us do the wonderful exercises from which what we have learned from the poem, right? Shall we all do this? Write the names of the professions. A person who mends shoes. Who is the person who mends shoes, dear? Yes, he is called as a cobbler. A person who stitches clothes. Wonderful. It's a tailor. A person who makes ornaments. It's a goldsmith. A person who represents people in court. Yes, advocate. A person who works in the fields. That's true, a farmer. A person who sells fruits and vegetables is a greengrocer, right? So, next we'll go to the next slide. Answer the following in a word or phrase or a sentence each, right? Shall we see some question and answers which we have and which we can answer with our better understanding of the poem. Shall we all do this? Who are referred to as they in the poem. The poet was always, he has mentioned about they. Who is that they in the poem? Hard-working, skilled labourers of various work are referred to as they here, right? They weave cloth, but they go naked. Why do they weave cloth? Why do they go naked? They weave cloth, right? Whole day they spend, their life is spent for the weaving cloth. But they don't have cloth to wear. Why is it? Let's see. They weave cloth for people to dress up well, but their mere income, the income which they, very little income which they get, makes them go naked. The little income which they get is only used to buy the groceries or to run the family. Where do they have the rich clothes to wear? Where do they at least have the clothes to wear or to buy the fancy clothes? Do they have? No, the little income which they get, they have to use it for their running the family, right? Why do people sigh after a day long work if they return home empty handed? The people sigh. Is it right or not? Whole day, full day they have worked, struggled so much, but the end of the day after that, if they see that the hands are empty, there is no coin in their hand, do they sigh or not? They feel so much depressed. Who does the poet refer to as God-loving men? What do they do? Men who pose themselves as God men. They preach that all men are equal, but never try to uplift the poet's people. Poet's people means, who are the poet's people? Is it talking about the poet's family? No, the poorer sections, the Dalits, laborers, right? So the God men means who always preach on the stage and they talk about God, rich and poor are same, but how much they try to lift these people is much important. They don't try, they preach, but they don't practice, right? Is the poet sympathetic to them? How do we know? Yes, the poet is sympathetic to them because the poet refers to them as my people. How do you understand that the poet is much sympathetic or concerned for the people? Because in every stanza we have seen that the poet was trying to use a word my people. He didn't say people or the people of the country. He didn't say that. He didn't use those words. What did he say? He just said my people because he feels concerned, he feels sympathetic for them. So he uses the word my people, right? Discuss in small groups and answer the following. What, as mentioned in the poem, are the different activities done by them? What are the different activities they do? Carrying stones for buildings, excavating gold, plowing the fields, sowing the seeds, all this we have seen in the poem, right? Cutting the crops, building shops and raising bangla and making footwear. Why does the poet have sympathy for his people? What is mentioned in the poem are the different activities done by them. What are the different activities? His people are all hardworking and they work for the benefit of the society, but they suffer from poverty and he is sympathetic with them, right? Isn't it a pity that some people build the shops but get into heavy debts? How does this happen? Even though the poet's people toil means work, struggle, right? Work day and night. They are paid a pittance. Pittance means very little amount. How much they work, that's not paid. That much is not paid, right? Many of them cannot offer even a square meal. Square meal means one meal. At least in a day, one meal they are not able to afford. And because of their mere earnings, very small, little earnings, they are forced to borrow money from their employer for huge interest rates. As these people are not able to afford a meal, at least the rich or the owner, can they feel concerned how the poet Siddalingaiah is concerned for his people, or as we have to be concerned for our people, at least these owners or the rich people can be concerned for them, but still they are not concerned. What do? They give money, but in return they charge interest rates, very heavy interest rates. The employer deducts the loans from their payment. Look at the condition. They get very little income, and the employer, yes, he charges heavy taxes from that salary, from the wage which they get. And the poets people go home empty handed or borrow money. They go home empty handed or borrow money. That's what the poor has to do, no? Is there any option for them? What do you think should be done to solve this misery or solve their problems, solve their miseries? Do you have any option? Do you have any idea? Think of it. Let's see. The government should take responsibility for maintaining the equal status of people in the country. The daily wage workers must be well paid and enjoy all the benefits from the government like the government employees. Yes? Do you all agree with this? Not only the government, it's a responsibility of all of us. We being in the society, it's a responsibility of all of us to raise the poorer communities, to raise them, to bring them to the equal status. It's a responsibility of all of us. Government has to do. At the same time, we being the people in the society, we all have to help the poorer communities to come to an equal status, get them well education, get them food, get them clothing, get them shelter. This is the responsibility of all of us. And we stay in the big houses or the bungalows and we see the poorer people who are not able to afford one day meal. Do we keep quiet and wait for the government to come forward? We don't do that, right? We have to help them, lift them up, give them support. Then they'll also be getting the equal status. They to get proper facilities or the support in the life, right? This is what we have learnt in this poem, right? You must have understood the poem and what Dr. Siddalingaiah wants to convey through this poem to all of us. What is the beautiful message? You all got it, right? You all have understood it very well. Thank you so much and we'll meet in the next poem. Thank you.